2D classifying solutions. Exercise number 1, you're given a graph with 3 different quadratic functions, and in the second column you're supposed to tell me the number of real zeros. Well, in this particular graph you're looking at 2 locations where the graph is crossing the x-axis, so the number of real zeros is 2. And in this case, b squared minus 4ac is going to be greater than 0. Greater than 0. So it's going to be a positive number. Positive number. Okay? Here, in this, we're looking at a quadratic function, a parabolic curve that is going downward and whose vertex is below the x-axis. Number of real zeros is 0. And so in this case, it is b squared minus 4ac is going to be less than 0, and that quantity is going to be negative. And here we have a parabola whose vertex is touching the x-axis, so the number of real zeros is going to be 1. And in this case, b squared minus 4ac is going to be equal to 0. So that's problem number 1. Number 2, we're supposed to sketch the graph of a quadratic function with no real zeros. So if we quickly draw an xy coordinate plane, and we go ahead and draw ourselves a parabolic curve. This would be an example. This would be an example of a quadratic function with no real zeros. Actually, what we would have are this would be 2 complex conjugate zeros. Would be the response to this particular graph. And number 3 is sketch the graph of a quadratic function whose discriminant is positive. In other words, the discriminant is greater than 0, and whose vertex is in the second quadrant. So again, if we go ahead and just sketch a simple graph here. So there's our y-axis, there's our x-axis. The discriminant is positive, which means that it's crossing the x-axis twice, and whose vertex is in the second quadrant. So we're going to start here with my tool. Now just watch before you do this, because I tooled this, something which you don't ordinarily do. And then I'm going to bring up my vertex. So you should get a parabolic curve that looks like this. And basically, it's positive. The discriminant is positive, so it's crossing the x-axis twice, and the vertex is in the second quadrant. So you know your A is going to be negative because the parabola is going down. It's a frown. It's going down. That's number 3.